Hello. It's Diane Cox back for another bit of tarot exploration on the major arcana of the Mythic Tarot Deck. The last card I did, which was a long time ago, I hate to confess, was the Chariot, which means we are on to Justice and Athena. So let's have a look at this card. Look at the symbolism. I always think it really helps with your readings with the symbolism. If you have a look and you're like, oh yeah, there's the kind of clue to what this is all about. So in this Mythic Tarot, or wonderful deck, we have Athena sitting here. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah. Sitting here, let's start with the floor first, okay? You've got that checkered floor, all right? The obviously the white and black squared floor. This is representative of the aspects of opposing sides, okay, in anything. It's like a yin and yang type of thing. It's balance. It's the light side and the dark side. It is opposing ends. It's different sides of a debate, okay? It's the whole kind of two people in a courtroom. It is balance, okay? And in this Justice card, it's quite interesting because what I also think when you look at this card, you've got Athena sitting in this column archway like you would see in Rome, where they all used to get together and meet, didn't they? They all had their little chatteroonies and their debates and their political arguments and their philosophical kind of exchanges in these places. With these columns and their marble seating areas. And I think, again, you look at that and you go, oh yeah, law, debating, being in a place where there's opposing kind of factions. Good, maybe good chatty, fun exchanges of ideas at the time, the philosophies at the time, and all that kind of stuff. So there's the two things from the floor. The columns, the sky is just a lovely blue. There's nothing there, no storm clouds, no kind of nothing like that, just a lovely blue clear sky. Clear sky, let it make you think of clear thinking, clearness, clarity, nothing stopping you seeing right through what might be smoke and mirrors, or what might be, propaganda or manipulation. And then let's look at Athena herself. Let's look at the symbolism around Athena. She's got a really impressive crown on there, hasn't she? That's really quite something. She's dressed in white. So the first thing that we remember about Athena is that she is a virgin goddess. She is chaste, untouched, unsullied, unkind of heated by the rawness of passion. And it is said that this is what makes her able to be so clear-minded, clear-thinking, balance-minded. She's not kind of affected by passion and kind of all out of a tree because of, she had this with this person and that with that person and that fallout or this or some love affair. She didn't have any of that. So she's meant to be clear-minded, principled over passion. So that kind of, that passion and that desire, sexual desire has not kind of touched her. So she's kind of seen as this goddess that just has this lovely ability to see through. So that's her white robes of purity, okay? And in her right hand she has a sword. The sword is indicative for me of air, and obviously she's got the scales, so we can kind of think it's a Libra kind of card, air, mind, thinking, diplomacy, fairness. So when you see those scales, you think of Libra, fairness, balanced, always seeing two sides, sometimes sitting on the fence, because it's easier for Librans sometimes to sit on the fence than to hurt anyone's feelings who's either side of the fence. Okay, so then you've got, just going back to the sword again is air in the tarot, so it's a very mental card, seeking mental neutrality and seeking mental acuity, mental fairness, mental high-mindedness, moral. And this card is very much related to truth, finding truth, seeking truth, exposing truth. But you know what? I think it's quite interesting with truth, because a lot of people think they are telling the truth, or their argument is the truth. And there's lots of different ways, isn't there? There's like, well, whose truth? Whose truth is it? There facts. There are facts, aren't there? It kind of facts that can't really be questioned. And there are, or are there? And there is then the truth. People's idea of what is true. Because people's minds can be very tricky. The mind is the realm of where it all happens and where you kind of keep yourself magical and sane. And the more you put into stop your mind being manipulated by the mass kind of machines that are around us at the moment, media machines. Anyway, Diane, we're not talking about that. We're talking about justice. Okay. So, we're talking about the sword, and the sword, like I say, cutting through all the kind of, all the kind of drapes that hang around, the veils and veiling the truth and all that. And then she has this wonderful crown on. I mean, that looks like some kind of, it's just like a wonderful statement of authority and getting to a place of mental maturity for me. And then let's talk about the owl. Obviously, Athena's animal is the owl. And the owl is an animal totem that is very much related to wisdom. And it's also related to magic. And it's related to, like when you look at how animal totems get their reputation. So you've got an owl at night, hunting, flying around, completely silent. I see owls here. And I can see one, and I'm watching it to take off, and I tell you, they make not a sound. So they fly through the dark, and they see everything that they can see. They're brilliant eyesight, brilliant hearing, and they can just see, and they've got a special point of vantage regarding what they see. And this is what is sitting on Athena's shoulder. So when you come to looking at justice, I often think that this card is related to karma in a way, because, I could say, well, justice will be done, but what I think is justice will be done. Some other person might think, well, that isn't justice done, actually. I think it's like completely the opposite way. Again, it's these two sides coming together. So I think it's almost like a karma, reap what has been sown, getting your just deserts, your just deserves, getting what you deserve, and it's kind of, it sounds a bit mean, that, doesn't it? But the justice card, it has a whole vibration around this seeking of truth, this higher mind, this balanced thought, this logical thought, okay? This fairness, logical truth. Let's look at this without emotion. Take the emotion out of these situations and have a real look at this. And when this card comes up, it can be someone who is acting as a mediator or a moderator, or, someone who's kind of a mentor in the middle. Mentor? No, just say mediator, that kind of person who's trying to bring two people into a sense of balance. It could be you being represented like that, or it could be, according to what you're asking and what cards are around it, it could be that you need to seek some kind of justice situation. You need to seek maybe a different opinion, a person's opinion who's got this kind of higher mind that isn't all emotional about it. Because when you take the emotion out of things, it's much easier to go, okay, I see that now. Or to, or even, put yourself in someone else's situation. But the Justice card itself, Athena, let's talk a little bit about Athena. Athena came into being like this. Okay, so her dad is Zeus, and Zeus was having a little dalliance with a goddess called Metis. Was she a goddess? Anyway, a female called Metis, and Metis got pregnant, and Zeus had been warned by Uranus that basically if Metis and Zeus had a child together, the child would end up more powerful than Zeus. So, being the gods and being mad and nutty and psychopathic and all those things, evidently we are made in the image of the gods. I can believe it. So even though, he's got his little girlfriend, shall we say, who's pregnant with his child, his ego can't take the threat of being usurped by a kid who's more powerful than him. And so swallows Metis with the unborn child still within her. A different version says that Metis got changed into some water and Zeus drank the droplets of water. The fact is, he ate his girlfriend and the unborn baby. Another nutty, god, divine, strange, Mount Olympus, who knows what. Where do they get these ideas from? As I often say, you think that gods are going to be divine and like above all that and no ego and they've got rid of it all, but no, not these ones. These are our mentors. So what happened was that Zeus went along and he started having these really bad headaches, like the migraines, and they went on and on and on, and he couldn't get rid of them. And in the end, he got in the information. It's kind of different characters get recognition for doing this, but one of them, Ares or Hephaestus, basically got an axe and split Zeus's head open, and out of the axe splitting area, up shot out the great goddess Athena. She was already an adult. She pops out of his head as an adult, dressed from head to foot in armour, in battle wear, and roaring her victorious cry of battle and war. So that's how Athena came into being without a mother, it is said, even though Metis was pregnant. And she just burst into the earth with this warlike, desire for justice, truth, balance, and civilized society. Whereas Ares of the Chariot is a bit of a warmongering, loves the old, fighting, bloodthirsty aggression. The highly sophisticated warrior that Athena is more mental. You've got that Libra thing. I mean, look at all the air. She's a mental, not mental, but she's she is more thinking about this bringing together, nurturing society, bringing society into peace from, good communications between opposing sides, that they get things properly settled, completely, deeply settled, and everyone understands each other's point of view, even if there's 4 parties, 5 parties, whatever. So Athena, not only is she like a goddess of the mind, a battle mind, war mind, but it's peaceful, it's seeking that kind of true coming together, true satisfaction when you've got opposing sides. I mean, she's also known as the goddess, obviously, of wisdom, because obviously she is very wise and she's very brave. She's the guardian of heroes, bravery, you know, courageous figures all throughout. She's also known as the goddess of horses, and she is also known as the goddess of embroidery and some arts and crafts. So quite an interesting kind of interesting range there, isn't there? So when you have this card, it's like, okay, first of all, you think, look at the cards around, think about what you've been asked, what the question is. Is the person asking the question Justice herself, and coming to bring peace to warring factions, families, friends, workplace, who knows what? Or is it that the person asking the question needs to seek someone's advice regarding getting help and seeing two sides of a situation? Because this is all about balanced thought. It's about being impartial. And the one thing about the sword of Athena is that when you take emotion out of everything and you just look at hard facts, it can mean people can come over, and this is if you're getting the sense that the person asking the question is being represented by Athena here. It can mean that people are coming across as very detached, very unemotional, not bothered, aloof, just kind of actually from a Libra point of view, the dark side of Libra, you wouldn't think there was one, but that, you know, the dark side of Libra, there's always got to be like a flip side of all astrological aspects. The dark side of Libra can be just kind of self-centeredness. And so when you have this Justice card, if it's representing the querent, then basically it can mean maybe they're being seen as not bothered, they don't care, they haven't got any emotion, they're not invested. They're not invested in the situation, they're not invested in repatriation, reconciliation, they're not interested in that. So that's something that could be to bear in mind, and that could also be if the card was reversed. So it is about law, debating, fairness, justice. Justice will be done. Get justice seen. Bear in mind, people's idea of justice can be very, very different. Okay. It's about being logical and diplomatic, and not being too kind of not too chilled, not too aloof and detached from the situation. Some of the stories about it's a bit of a dark story, this, but I do like these dark stories of the myths, because it's like, how did that ever? Why didn't they just scrub that out of the books? So listen to this. So here's a nice one. Here's a nice story about Athena. So Athena and Poseidon were at this city or little town, who knows what. It was meant to be a city. And the king has basically said that he will offer a prize or his kind of acknowledgement and recognition so Athena and Poseidon have to present the king and the city with a gift. So Poseidon comes along and bangs his trident on the floor, and up springs a well, but it's salt water. I thought it was a bit unimaginative, really, of Poseidon, because he's always in salt water. It didn't take him a lot to do that, did it? Basically, bang up a well of salt water. And as impressive as it kind of is on one hand, you can't drink salt water and you can't really irrigate with salt water, and okay, you can do other lovely cleansing things with it, but it was like the king was like, okay, thanks. And then Athena came along and she gifted the city the first olive tree. Also, she's known as the patron kind of goddess of olive trees. And the king was delighted, and so Athena won the competition. Poseidon didn't, and he was so enraged that he planned, he didn't carry it out, but he planned to cut down the olive tree. Such is his ego and his inability to accept defeat. It's just like, cut it down, cut the tree down. It's like, what? It's just like, that's very spiteful. Why are gods so spiteful, I wonder? Anyway, and then the very dodgy story. If you don't want to hear a dodgy story, just scoot along. Just kind of, I'll wave when it's over. This is such a story. And so, okay. So Hephaestus really fancied Athena. And when his marriage was over, I think it was Aphrodite he was married to. How can he be married to Aphrodite? But anyway, when his marriage was over, he really had the hots for Athena. And he often tried it on with her. And she would like fight him off. And this one day he was doing his usual thing, being highly inappropriate. And she was having to fend off his unwanted advances. And in his excitement of being fended off by this mighty warrior goddess, Athena, he, how should we say this? He missed his target, I think is a good way of saying it, and he spilt his seed on her thigh. Okay. So he was so excited, he was trying to bamboozle himself, force his attentions on Athena, and she was like, obviously, very good at fighting him off. And he spilt his seed on her thigh. In disgust, not surprisingly, she wiped this stuff off and it fell on the earth. Now, these days we go, oh great, it fell on the earth, good, wash it down. However, the great Greeks and Romans knew that the earth was a conscious being. It was Gaia, the goddess Gaia. She lay there with her earth and her soil and her trees and her plants and her fruits and her flowers. She was a goddess. She's living consciousness. That earth is living consciousness. And so the seed of Hephaestus fell on the earth and bore a child. It kind of fertilized Gaia, who was basically his grandmother. You couldn't make this stuff up. He's after his sister, half-sister. He spills his seed. She shakes it off onto the floor. His seed then fertilizes his grandmother Gaia, and this child pops up who's a very weird looking thing, half kind of human looking with a big massive dragon's tail. You can see why you get just so enraptured as a child, can't you? It's like, I wonder if they still do the myths at school, because it's just like, wow. That's kind of, obviously they wouldn't tell that story, but okay. So I think we have the whole idea here. Obviously the Fool has moved through quite a few situations and quite a few growth curves, learning curves, right from the Fool and the Magician, and the learning about the fertility and the kind of luxury of the Empress, the kind of emperor, the authority of the emperor, and the Fool carries on, and he's got all the high priestess, and he's going through these deep lessons of in the deck. It's about the lessons of erotic desire in youth, like the Lover's card, and him picking Aphrodite over wisdom and bravery, Hera, wasn't it? Power and that kind of that kind of idea of being a brilliant world leader, being full of wisdom, and then Aphrodite just like showing her boobs, and that's what he went for. He goes through those obvious kind of lessons, and then he meets the Hierophant and starts that journey of the chariot, that kind of different, that fire kind of warrior stuff. And then he has to start coming to terms with these lessons now. And the cards in this deck, they call them the 4 moral lessons. And this is the first one, Justice. And then the second one is the next card, Temperance. And then Strength. And then the Hermit. So these are all considered moral lessons that the Fool is going through to learn about himself and to expand his character, and deepen his character, expand his character, and to again, take his mind up to the higher, balanced, kind of cool and focused thought of this Justice card. So it is definitely I think it's quite a straightforward card. Just see what's around it. Again, get that whole idea of what it is, and just know that the whole idea of Athena is lofty law, lofty kind of wanting things for the betterment, the mental betterment, the peace of society, of civilization. You know, it's like lifting the mind up past those petty kind of, you know, niggles that people get all hung up on, into the, okay, what's for the good of everyone. So I think that's kind of it. Make sure you always refer to these symbols in this deck, because they're very they're very helpful and telling. And yeah, there you go, Justice. So enjoy. And as always, any comments that you have on your own take of the Justice card, please do leave them. I love it. And obviously the next one will be Temperance. And I will see you soon.